ඔෆිස් එකේදී විතරක් නෙවෙයි මම දැන් ගෙදරදීත් IDD calls ගන්න SLT ෆෝන් එකේ.
ඔබේ නිවසේ SLT දුරකථනය දැන් IDD පහසුකම සහිතයි.
Inclement weather. Heavy rains wreak havoc in several districts, leaving 7,000 displaced in Galle.
More than 7,000 people been affected since in the morning. Several roads and byroads been inundated and some houses been affected in Galle district as well.
Refreshing ties. President Maithripala Sirisena meets his Iranian counterpart. Several MOUs signed between the two countries. Extending relief. Government promises kerosene subsidy given to Samudi recipients and to small-scale fishing community. Levelling allegations. Ecologist warns that public and environment in grave danger due to clouds of dust in coal power plant area.
Nor do they give single care about the health of the children of this country and what kind of nation we should create for the future.
France attacked again. An assailant kills 29-year-old passerby in a knife attack and injures 4 others in Paris. A very good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. President Maithripala Sirisena, who is on a 2-day state visit to Iran, met Iranian President Hassan Rouhani today. During the meeting, the two leaders signed several memorandum of understandings in order to boost bilateral trade. This is the first state visit to Iran by President Sirisena since assuming duties.
President Maithripala Sirisena, who is currently engaging in a 2-day state visit to Iran at the invitation of Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, arrived in the country last night. President Sirisena met with his Iranian counterpart at the country's capital city of Tehran, where discussions were held on trade and economic development. During discussions, 5 MOUs were penned to further strengthen economic and trade ties between the two countries. According to the President's media division, President Sirisena is also scheduled to attend a special investment and trade forum organized by the Iran Chamber of Commerce.
Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli, says that over 7,000 individuals in Galle district have been affected owing to heavy rains experienced last night. Flooding was experienced in the southern, Sabragama and western provinces over the past 24 hours.
Several areas in Galle district were inundated owing to heavy rains experienced last night. According to our correspondents, several areas are still without electricity owing to the inclement weather. Meanwhile, heavy rains were experienced in Kalutara district as well. Furthermore, police have requested drivers using the Southern Expressway to limit their speed to 60 km per hour owing to heavy rains. Signboards along the expressway were seen cautioning drivers to remain within the said speed limit. Meanwhile, speaking to First at 9 Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli stated that heavy rains are expected to continue tomorrow as well.
As for the rainfall received since yesterday evening, so there are some affected population being calculated in Galle district. More than 7,000 people been affected since in the morning. Several roads and byroads been inundated and some houses been affected in Galle district as well. So most of the rain received in town area and Habradu and Kharwat area. And in Kalutara, 635 people been affected and meals been provided in the daytime today at Panadur area. Still the weather will be not in good conditions and rain could be expected more. And still the warning is being continued from Mana to Batikro via Colombo for the sea surges and fishermen and all other naval communities have to be very vigilant with that prevailing situation.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe states that despite a growing population of women in Sri Lanka, the number of women in the workplace still remain low. Speaking at an event held in Colombo today, the Premier highlights that the government should create avenues to allow women to be absorbed in the workforce, especially at management level.
100 years ago, more of the women did not know how to read or write. But it didn't mean that they did not have common sense. All of a sudden, the numbers started increasing because people realized education was more important. Even in our population now, the edge is with the women. But then, when you look at those who are in employment, you find the number reverses again. At the bottom, in certain sectors, like the apparel trade, the plantations, you have more women. You have more women going out for employment and unskilled persons. As you go to the managerial levels, you don't find women. Some understandably leave employment when they are married and they have family and they want to support the children. In Western countries, this pattern is there sometimes, but they also make provisions for some of them to come back into employment when the children are grown up. In our system, as our per capita increases, we have the highest income in the whole of South Asia, other than Bhutan and Maldives. If we are to survive economically, we must have an educated labor force. So therefore, we have to find ways of having more women coming into the workforce, especially at the middle management level and at the management level. So the type of employment pattern for women may have to be different from males. So my ministry is now studying this issue.
Also speaking at an event in Galle yesterday, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has said that the government will carry forward development work in the Galle district regardless of political affiliations and differences. The opening ceremony of a newly constructed building in the vicinity of the Akmimana Divisional Secretariat office in Galle was held under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe last evening. Thereafter, the Prime Minister declared open the new Divisional Secretariat office.
කරුවක්‍රාමාත්තුමනි අපේ රටේ අද පවතින්නේ මේ රටේ නොපැවති ජනතාවට නුහුරු නුපුරුදු පාලන ක්‍රමයක්. වැඩ කළත් ප්‍රමාණවත් නැහැ. කරන වැඩ පිළිබඳව ජනතාව දැනුවත් විය යුතු වෙනවා. ඒ පැත්තෙන් පසුබෑමක සිටින බවයි මගේ පෞද්ගලික අදහස.
අපි රජයක් හැටියට යෝජනා කරේ හම්බන්තොට වරායයි ගුවන්තොටුපොළෙන් ප්‍රයෝජනය අරගෙන ඒ සමගම ඒ කලාපයක් හදන්න. ඒ දියුණුව කරනකොට අපේ මහඇමතුමාගෙන් විශාල සහයෝගයක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා කියලා මං කියන්න කැමතියි. එතුමා ශ්‍රී ලංකා නිදහස් පක්ෂයට අයිති වුණත්, අපි එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයට අයිති වුණත්, එතුමා ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම පළාත් සභාවේ ඉන්නේ, අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්නේ. කොහොම හරි මේ දෙකම එකතු වෙලා කරන හොඳ උදාහරණයක්. ඒ නිසා මං හිතන්නේ ගාල්ලේ සංවර්ධනය හැම එක්කෙනාටම ඕනලා තියෙනවා පක්ෂ ભેදෙන් තොරව. ඉතින් කොහොම හරි මේ වැඩ කටයුතු මේ අවුරුද්දේ ආරම්භ කරාම ඒ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ඉඳන් ඉදිරියට ගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් පක්ෂ ભેදෙන් තොරව.
The extraordinary gazette notification on amended duties and functions under new ministries was published today. The gazette notification was issued by President Maithripala Sirisena with effect from yesterday. Accordingly, several duties and functions under new ministries have been amended.
Following the recent cabinet reshuffle on 1st of May, the extraordinary gazette notification on amended duties and functions under new ministries as per a scientific method was issued this morning. It mentions that Sri Lanka Credit Information Bureau, which was under the Ministry of National Policies and Economic Affairs, has now come under the purview of Ministry of Finance and Mass Media. Management Audit Department has also come under the purview of the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media. It is noteworthy that responsibilities of the Employees Trust Fund has been transferred to Ministry of Labour, Trade Union Relations and Sabaragamu Development. Through the extraordinary gazette notification, the Litrogas Lanka Limited and Litrogas Terminal Lanka Company Limited have now come under the purview of Ministry of Public Enterprise and Kandy City Development. Meanwhile, all main entities related to the sugar industry such as Hingurana Sugar Industry Limited, Ceylon Sugar Private Limited, Kantale Sugar Company and Sugarcane Research Institute have been now come under the purview of the Ministry of Public Enterprise and Kandy City Development. Government Printing Department meanwhile has come under the purview of the Ministry of Internal Affairs and Viable Development. State Printing Corporation has come under the purview of the Ministry of Education. Meanwhile, duties and functions of many entities which were under the Ministry of Education have been transferred to the Ministry of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs. Accordingly, Department of Archaeology, Central Cultural Fund, Tower Hall Theatre Foundation, National Performing Arts Centre, National Arts Council and Department of National Archives are now under the purview of the Ministry of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs. It is noteworthy that the National Film Corporation has also come under the purview of Ministry of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs. Mahapola Higher Education Scholarship Trust Fund, which was under the Ministry of Development Strategies and International Trade, meanwhile has also come under the Ministry of Higher Education and Cultural Affairs.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa says the free trade agreement between Singapore and Sri Lanka will be harmful to the country's economy. He expressed these views following questions raised by media this morning. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa attended an arms-giving ceremony at Sama Vihara in Thimirigassaya this morning.
මෙහි තියෙන රැකියා ටික හර දීලා අනවශ්‍ය හැම එකක් දැන් මේකේ අනුව නම් ගෘහ සේවිකාවෝ විතරක් නෙවෙයි හැම ඕනෑම තරාතිරම කෙනෙක්ව ගේන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා. ඒකේ තියෙන විදිහට මේ තවත් සංස්කෘතික වශයෙන් ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්තුමා සහ බැසිත් රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා මම වැඩිහිටි සහෝදරයෙක් වශයෙන් මම පැහැදිලිව කියන්න අපේ මල්ලිලා අතර එහෙම සහෝදරයන් අතර කිසිම ભેදයක් නැහැ. ඒ දෙන්න මේ පොඩි කාලේවත් එහෙම රණ්ඩු වුණේ නැහැ. ඔබතුමා නම් කරන කෙනෙක් තමයි ඉදිරියට පත් වෙන්නේ කියලා එතුමාලා කිව්වා. අපේ පක්ෂයේ තීන්දුව අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. ඒකට නම් ඉදිරිපත් කිරීමේ අයිතියක් මටත් තියෙනවා. 16 දෙනෙක් එක්ක මොනවද සාකච්ඡා මට්ටමක දැන් තියෙන්නේ? තාම අපි කෙලින්ම කතා කරේ නැහැ. ඉස්සෙල්ලා ඇවිල්ලා කතා කරා. ඒ කට්ටිය අපිත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා. මේ ආණ්ඩුවට විරුද්ධව කියන්නේ මේ UMP ට විතරක් නෙමෙයි. ආණ්ඩුවට විරුද්ධවයි. ඒ කට්ටිය එළියට බැස්සේ. මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් අපි 17 වෙනින් පස්සේ කට්ටිය ඒක කතා කරමු.
Issuing a release today, the Ministry of Finance has decided to supply kerosene at the previous concessionary rate of 44 rupees per litre for Samruddhi beneficiaries who do not have electricity, as well as residents living in areas without electricity. This benefit will also be provided to the fishing community who operate small-scale fishing trawlers. This will come into effect on the 10th of next month. Fishermen from Hambantota held a protest along the Tissamatra main road today, voicing against the price hike of kerosene. Meanwhile, the Inter-Provincial Private Bus Owners Association and Lanka Private Bus Owners Association want the government to increase the minimum bus fare as soon as possible.
On the 10th of this month, the government increased the price of kerosene from 44 rupees to 101 rupees per litre, in line with the implementation of the automatic fuel pricing mechanism. It is in this backdrop a group of fishermen from Hambantota district commenced a strike in Hunugama, located along the Tissamatra main road. Protesters belong to fishing communities in Godavaya, Rekava, Kalamatiya and Valipatanvila in the Hambantota district. Later, the Hunugama police arrived at the location to disperse the group of protesters. Meanwhile, a group of provincial councillors from the Negombo Municipal Council convened a media briefing today to express their displeasure over the increase of the price of kerosene. Speaking at the media briefing, UPFA MP Nimal Lanza said that the fishing community in the area have informed them that if no solution is given to the prices of kerosene by this Tuesday, fishermen are prepared to hold protests across the country. Meanwhile, convening a media briefing today, Inter-Provincial Private Bus Owners Association requests the government to increase the minimum bus fare to 15 rupees or by 20% before the 16th of this month. They added if the government fails to do so, drivers of private buses will refrain from engaging in work from the 16th midnight. However, Lanka Private Bus Owners Association state they would be satisfied with an increase of 10% as a minimum fare of 15 rupees is exorbitant.
JVP parliamentarian Bima Ratnayake alleges that the government is trying to privatize state universities by highlighting the plight and issues of SITEM students. Parliamentarian Bima Ratnayake made this remark at a media briefing held at the JVP headquarters in Colombo today.
Government has been using for this SITEM issue to privatize the state-owned university system. Especially since last month, we got this document about the General Sir John Kotalawala National Defence University. They have amended this bill to accommodate private parties to pay and study in government universities. So in future, if we adopted this bill in the parliament, this Kotalawala Defence University will become a complete private university. Then they can charge any amount of fees from the students, And even this university is not under 1978 Universities Act. It has its own power of making regulations, and this allows them to use public funds for private business first. Second, this will completely destroy the quality of higher education of Sri Lanka. Third thing, this is a militarization of university education system. And the fourth thing, this will completely undermine the role which has been played by these organizations like Sri Lanka Medical Council. So now what government has been doing is they are exploiting the grievances of the SITEM students, and now they are trying to use their issue to start publicly funded private universities. So that's why we call this is another white paper.
System ecologist Dr. Ranil Senanayake claims that the public and environment is now in a grave danger due to clouds of coal dust spiralling in the air in areas from Puttalam to Anuradhapura. Meanwhile, former Director of Alternative Energy at the Ministry of Science and Technology, P.G. Joseph, claims that Sri Lanka should not resort to generate power using coal plants. They made these remarks addressing a media briefing in Colombo.
2006, the Ministry of Power and Energy, with the approval of the Parliament, published a gazette, right, known as the National Energy Policy and Strategies of Sri Lanka. That specifically states coal, oil or gas, if their prices are indexed to oil, then you can't use such fuel. That is been approved by the Parliament. As far as I see, but the Cabinet has given permission to go ahead with the coal or natural gas for that matter is wrong, because we know very well that the price of gas and coal are indexed to oil prices. In other words, if oil prices go up, natural gas price go up and coal price go up. So therefore they are indexed. In other words, according to this Gazette notification, we are compelled to go for renewable energy. Any form of fossil fuel is against this particular clause in the Gazette.
This is like a tyranny of the engineers who have no idea of the ecosystem, they have no idea of photosynthetic biomass, they have no idea of ecosystem services, nor do they give single care about the health of the children of this country and what kind of nation we should create for the future. They will lumber us with an incredibly large infrastructure that we have invested a huge amount of money on to buy and use the poisonous coal that they are making their commissions on, all at the expense of this country, all at the expense.
Let's take a look at some other stories making news across Sri Lanka. Minister of Power and Renewable Energy Ranjit Siambalapitiya says that the government has no plans to increase electricity tariff despite increase in fuel prices. He expressed these views to media following the inspection tour of the Katunaga Free Trade Zone. The newly constructed underground public car park in Badulla, which was opened 8 months ago, is deemed unusable during the rainy season. The public charged that the car park becomes inundated as there is no proper mechanism to prevent water from entering into the vicinity. Residents of the Barande estate in Navalapitiya handed over an injured leopard cub to the police. Residents state that the leopard is 3 months old. A private company in Nartupana in Anguruwatoto organized a tree planting campaign in the area. The first phase of the tree planting project took place at Gainigama in Katodua. A motor vehicle travelling from Kandy to Polonnaruwa veered off the road in the Laggala Oya area due to heavy rains. 3 persons who sustained injuries in the incident was admitted to the Kandy hospital.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Mayor of Colombo, Rosi Senanayake, extended an invitation to high-ranking government officials of Hangzhou in China towards the possibility of working together under the Twin City program for the development of both cities. She expressed these views at a seminar on business opportunities with China in Colombo recently. The International Chinese Investment Seminar was held under the auspices of Minister of Science, Technology, Research, Skills Development and Vocational Training and Canadian Heritage, Dr. Sarath Amunugama, recently. The event was held in order to promote foreign trade, foreign investments and introducing advanced foreign technologies between China and Sri Lanka. The seminar saw the presence of investors from Hangzhou, China.
Now we are very close to one of the major developing markets in the world, that is the Indian market, where there is a large middle class growing every day, and we have a free trade agreement with them. No other country can export to India at a cheaper rate than if you do it from Sri Lanka. We also have free trade agreements with Pakistan. We will soon have an arrangement with Bangladesh, which is a fast-growing economy. So Sri Lanka is very well located as a trading hub.
Maybe we could also look at having a twin city program where we could both work together, synergize and have a win-win situation. And before the port city becomes a smart giant city, I would like to see Colombo as a very efficient, smart, green and women-friendly city. Also, we are looking at going into public-private partnership in developing perhaps the hospitality industry, making Colombo a hub for the tourist. So we are looking at areas in developing on an open concept.
Stock market analysts say that the Colombo bourse is expected to gain momentum owing to an increase in investor activity over the course of the week. Let's now cross over to Dimantha Matthew from First Capital Holdings with your market forecast for the upcoming week.
The uncertainty prevailing in the investor mindset resulted in the overall market recording a downtrend last week. However, we expect strong results that are getting released at the moment to have a positive impact on the market, reversing the trend to a positive upward momentum. Positive earnings are likely to result in improved investor interest and confidence as well in the overall market, and is likely to improve investor activity as well. The foreign activity segment, which is very high these days, is likely to remain strong and add further strength to the market.
Analysts predict that 2018's royal wedding between Prince Harry and Meghan Markle could be worth at least £500 million, which is equivalent to $668 million for the British economy. Harry and his fiancée will marry next Saturday in Windsor Castle. In the picturesque town of Windsor, locals and businesses are hoping for a tourist boom driven by the royal occasion. According to the Office for National Statistics, when the wedding of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge took place in April 2011, there was an increase of 350,000 visitors to the UK compared to the same month the previous year. Brand valuations consultancy Brand Finance forecasts that the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will generate around £200 million, which is equivalent to $267 million to the tourism sector.
The uplift to the royal wedding we estimate very conservatively at about £500 million. We think approximately £200 million will come from tourism, travel, hotels. About £150 million will come from people spending money having parties and celebrating. About £100 million will be free advertising for the UK around the world, and the remaining £50 million will be people buying T-shirts, hats, mugs and commemorative things to celebrate what will be a very popular wedding.
The EU is scrambling to find ways to safeguard huge business deals with Iran amid the threat of US penalties. Washington is reimposing strict sanctions on Iran, which were lifted under the 2015 international deal to control the country's nuclear ambitions. On 8th of May, President Donald Trump denounced the deal, saying he would withdraw the US from it. Since the deal took effect in 2016, major European firms have rushed to do billions of dollars worth of business with Iran, and now thousands of jobs are at stake. Many of those firms fear their business ties with the US could be at risk if they continue to do deals with Iran past the November deadline.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
France, which is on high security alert owing to a series of terrorist attacks for the past 3 years, faced another attack yesterday. An assailant killed a passerby in a knife attack that also wounded 4 others in the heart of the capital city, Paris. The incident is thought to be a terrorist attack. An assailant shouting Allahu Akbar killed a 29-year-old passerby in a knife attack that also wounded 4 others in the busy opera district in Paris yesterday. An assailant tried to enter several bars and restaurants in the area but was blocked by people inside. French police had arrived at the scene within minutes. They had first tried to stop the assailant with a stun gun before shooting him dead. The Islamic State later said one of its soldiers had carried out the attack but provided no proof for its claim. During preliminary investigations, the French police had discovered that the suspect was born in 1997 in the Russian Republic of Chechnya. Meanwhile, on Twitter, French President Emmanuel Macron praised officers for neutralizing the terrorist, while emphasizing that France will not yield an inch to the enemies of freedom. France has been on high alert amid a series of attacks commissioned or inspired by the Islamic State militant group over the past 3 years that has killed more than 230. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, suicide bombers have attacked 3 churches in country's second largest city, Surabaya, today, killing at least 9 people. 41 others have been injured in the attacks, which occurred within minutes of each other. Indonesia, the most populous Muslim-majority country, has seen a resurgence of Islamist militancy in recent months. The bombings targeting 3 churches in Indonesia's second-largest city, Surabaya, today took place at around 7:30 local time. Indonesian police said they foiled an attack against a 4th church. The country's intelligence agency said the attacks were most likely to have been carried out by an Islamic State-inspired group, Jemaah Ansharut Daulah. However, no group has so far claimed responsibility. Areas around the churches have been cordoned off and investigations are currently underway. The bombings comes days after Islamist militant prisoners killed 5 members of an elite counter-terrorism force during a 36-hour standoff at a high-security jail on the outskirts of the capital, Jakarta. And on sports news, we start with tennis. Germany's Alexander Zverev won the battle against Denis Shapovalov yesterday to set up a Madrid Open final rig against Austria's Dominic Thiem. In the early hours yesterday, Thiem defeated South Africa's Kevin Anderson 6-4, 6-2 and reached the final for the 2nd year in succession.
3rd seed Alexander Zverev got off to a good start by claiming the first set, defeating Denis Shapovalov. The 2nd set proved to be a similar one as the first, as Zverev took complete control against opponent Shapovalov, winning 6-4, 6-1 in less than an hour on centre court.
And on to some local sports stories now. Western Province clinched the titles for both men and women's categories in the marathon event of the 44th National Sports Festival. DGT Sandaruvan of Western Province won the men's championship. In the women's category, MSPU Pereira won.
Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Moving on to our weather forecast now, showers or thundershowers can be expected over most provinces of the island during the next 24 hours, particularly in the western, southern, central and sub-Ragamo provinces. With that, let's take a look at your city-by-city forecast. And before we go, we'd like to take you to London, where the wax work of Meghan Markle was unveiled recently at Madame Tussauds Museum just days before the US actress weds the UK's Prince Harry. The wax figure that took 6 months to make wears a green dress like the one Markle wore on the day her engagement was announced. It also features a replica of a diamond engagement ring designed for her by Prince Harry. We hope you enjoy these visuals and thank you for joining us.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.